English, obviously, as we use it nowadays for communication and across the world, be it in commerce, be it in scholarship, be it in science, technology, you name it, arose to this position, as you call it, as a result of the Second World War, because the two Allied powers which won the war were English speaking, the United States and Britain. So, in a way, the military and economic and political power underwrote without any plan this kind of dominant position of English across the world.
Thinking about it in a very simplistic way, there are only two paths it could all go down from here in the next few decades. First is that English will grow further as a lingua franca or maintain its dominant position in terms of the number of speakers. The second one is that it will shrink and give way to something else. Which way it will go is, of course, a relatively difficult question to answer, but let's start somewhere.
So, the simple assumption, or simplistic, I should say, could be if China becomes the first economy in the world when it comes to production, investment, you name it, it should be Chinese becoming a global lingua franca. But it is a very simplistic assumption. There are many other factors which need to be taken into account to have a sensible look at potential answers to this question. What is very often and regrettably forgotten is the fact that our world, from the perspective of language politics, is divided into two halves. In one half, more or less Eurasia, indigenous languages are used in official capacity as languages of administration and education in a given country. So in France, it is French, in Romania, it is Romanian, in Vietnam, it's Vietnamese, in Mongolia, it is Mongolian. Elsewhere in the world, it is non-indigenous, Eurasian, and most often European colonial languages which are used in this function. So in Rwanda, it was French, nowadays it is English. In Peru, it is Spanish. In Canada, it is French and English, and so on. So, look, if these post-colonial states which will continue to use colonial languages in official capacity, I don't see English, or for that matter, other colonial languages like Spanish, Portuguese, losing their position where they were accepted and taken up as languages of education and state administration. You know, it is the place to be observed. And obviously you need to define what does it mean to have the dominant position. Yeah? If you define it purely from the perspective of using a language for official purposes of state administration and education, I mean, the situation is not changing outside Eurasia. All the states which in the process of decolonization decided to use English as an official language, they stick to their choices. And actually, some countries, the example of Rwanda here comes, actually switched from other quote unquote colonial languages to English, like from French to English. So you could say that outside Eurasia, the position of English is going up, if you define the dominance in this sense. But what is not possible today under certain political configurations in the future may become possible, unless something strange happens and the political shape of the entire world is completely destroyed and overwhelmed. I cannot see this very salient and important division between Eurasia and the rest of the world in the sense of language of politics. If this cleavage between the rest of the world and Eurasia in the field of language politics is not changed, basically English and other colonial languages outside Europe will retain their position because you know what, when you have Kenya and everything is done in English at the level of administration and university education, I mean, you won't do it overnight in Lingala or in Chinese. Yeah, you would have to have the transition period, and most of all, you would have to have uh, a kind of a need to do it, or a foreign power imposing it as the Brits did in the past. Yeah.